country full of deadly creatures. Surrounded by an endless beach that is filled with pretty girls and buff surfer guys. And a spattering of unique wildlife, such as wombats and kangaroos. And even human elements such as iconic buildings like the Sydney Opera House. But there is a less explored side as well. Ancient stories of hideous creatures lurking in the outback and monsters in the bush. Most of these stories are dismissed as nothing more than legend and myth. But, much like the animals that inhabit its lands, Australia also has its own unique cryptids. In the video today, we'll be looking at some of these lesser known cryptids and legends of Australia. It is widely believed that the Aboriginal people came to Australia some 60,000 years ago, bringing with them a unique and rich culture steeped with strange creatures and a unique origin story, mistakenly referred to as the Dreamtime. In this origin story, we hear of very bizarre creatures such as the Bunyip or the Yowie. Then came the Ozploitation time for Hollywood, and Australians began to tell stories of their own cryptids, such as the Hoop Snake or the notorious Drop Bear, a vicious cousin of the koala. What is rarely mentioned is that there are some animals from Aboriginal lore that may actually still be alive today. Creatures such as the Yari, or marsupial lion, spotted in Queensland, thought to be a cousin of the now extinct thylacine, or Tasmanian tiger. However, the only photo of the beast ever taken was in 1964. This photo was taken at that time. The photo was taken in Western Victoria, nearly 3,000 kilometres from all other sightings. The photo also looks hoaxed, causing all other reports to be dismissed. There have been hundreds of reports of similar creatures, mostly over the southeastern states, and many thought to be sightings of the previously mentioned extinct Tasmanian tiger, or a mainland species offshoot. There have, for many decades, been claims of large cats, often cited as Black Panther, roaming through the vast forests of the Great Dividing Range in southeastern Australia. There has never been any evidence for such a beast. However, there are some large feral cats in that area, but that's a completely different issue. The Bunyip can be compared to the Skinwalker of Native American lore. Not one description of it matches another, seemingly being able to take on many forms. The creature is often sighted near billabongs or other waterways, sustaining itself on fish. All Aboriginal tribes who have encountered the beast fear it, and the word Bunyip itself roughly translates as devil or evil spirit. However, settlers started to use the word to mean imposter or pretender. As the Bunyip is always reported near waterways, you can simply avoid these areas to remain relatively safe. As with the Bunyip, the easiest way to describe the creature is to compare it to another well-known creature. The Yowie is essentially Australia's version of Bigfoot. However, there are many names for it, depending on the tribe and the location. The most common term is Yahoo, mostly seen in the eastern states where the forests are dense. In certain Aboriginal traditions, the Yowie were the original inhabitants of the land, with Old Bungaree, a Gunnedah Aboriginal, saying, "At one time there were tribes of them Yahoos, and they were the original inhabitants of the country." He said, "They were the old race of blacks. The Yahoos and the blacks used to fight, and the blacks always beat them. But the Yahoo always made away from the blacks, being a faster running mostly." Now the name Yahoo is not to be confused with another creature of Aboriginal lore, the Yarramah Yahoo, which is more of a frog-like man with red skin, who is said to live in the fig trees. by far the most compelling cryptid is the Burundjul. It is said to be a large bipedal reptile creature that can reach heights of 7.5 metres, around 25 feet, and was once thought to resemble that of the Tyrannosaurus rex. It is now thought to be a descendant of the Australovenator, a much deadlier, and therefore more Australian, version of the theropod. Along with the Aboriginal lore, including rock art, there are many contemporary accounts of encounters with the Burundjul, such as in 1957, when ranchers near the MacArthur River had their cattle begin to panic and flee for no apparent reason, until another rancher was seen running and screaming toward the river in the distance. They reported a loud grunting sound and a creature skulking off before finding many dead and mutilated cattle. The ranchers said that the cattle looked like they had been half eaten by a large crocodile. There is also a 1978 report by Brian Clark and the police warning him to stay out of an unsafe area. But this seems more anecdotal rather than any actual solid evidence of anything. Another report from the early 1980s. Some ranchers in central Queensland began complaining of their cattle being killed by what they suspected was a large crocodile, until one of them saw a 6-metre bipedal reptile pick up a fully grown cow and carry it away in its jaws. The rancher who made the report remained hidden behind brush, while the creature made off with its prey. Later, a search party went out to hunt the creature, following its large tracks, until all of the animals, the horses and dogs, would go no further from fear. The search party too fled in fear, never finding the beast. Another report from 1985 contains the biggest clue to the creature's origins. The Askey family were returning home to Roper River when they spied not one, but 2 of the creatures near the Roper River mission. Their report was that of a 20-foot monster, covered in feathers. Up to this point, no one had ever gotten close enough to see details. But with the mention of feathers, the Aboriginal lore of the Burundjul made a whole lot more sense. Instead of writing it off as nothing more than a large bird such as an emu or a cassowary, there was now modern-day evidence of a feathered reptile-like creature, just like the dinosaurs were said to be. The Aboriginal lore could no longer be dismissed as evidence, and with the discovery of the Australovenator in 2009, it is beginning to look more and more like the Burundjul may actually be a real living cryptid. This video, uploaded in May of 2008 by POM.TV to YouTube, shows 2005 footage from Frankie Shoveler. He's an Indigenous teacher, a filmmaker, and a musician, and it shows the footprints of a large animal. The footage was taken on a beach near Bidyandanga, near Broome in the Kimberley region of Western Australia. You can see in the footage that the tracks are quite old, as they are somewhat eroded from the wind as well as other animal tracks crossing them, ruling them out as a hoax. One of the young boys in the video mentions that it may have been a large bird, or even a dinosaur.
They told us there's some strange foot tracks down the beach and we just came to check it out, but we don't know what that track is like, you know?
Pretty big and
It's pretty big and it's more bigger than my foot. Some people think it's ostrich or a dinosaur,
big eagle or something.
some sort of bird, but
This area is very remote and is not easily accessible, despite being the largest Aboriginal community in Western Australia. It is most certainly not anywhere near a tourist destination, so the locals wouldn't have no reason to create such a hoax, and the video has only had just over 2,000 views on YouTube. Are these indeed the tracks of the legendary Burundjul, or are they simply that of a large bird or some other unknown creature? I'll leave that for you to decide. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up below and subscribe for new videos twice a week. And as always, thank you for watching.